Have you ever had one of those days, or maybe weeks, where you just feel like you're drowning in a sea of tasks? You're constantly reacting, putting out fires, instead of actually moving forward? Well, if that sounds familiar, you are in the right place. We're about to break down a really powerful toolkit designed to take you from that crazy busy feeling to being completely and calmly ready for whatever comes your way. So let's dive in.
Okay, so first things first. Let's get to the root of the problem. Why does modern work feel like this relentless wave that just keeps crashing over you? You know that feeling of being totally swamped? It's not just in your head. It is very real, and it's backed up by some pretty eye-opening data.
Get a load of this number. 10 minutes. That's the average amount of time a knowledge worker gets before they're interrupted. Just 10 minutes of focus. But here's the real kicker. After each one of those interruptions, it can take up to 25 minutes to get your head fully back in the game. When you do the math, well, it's no wonder we all feel like we're constantly playing catch-up.
And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the true cost of being so overwhelmed. This isn't just about working late. It's this emotional grind. It leads to frustration, full-on burnout, and that nagging feeling that you're just never quite on top of things.
A Rube Goldberg machine is honestly the perfect way to think about a lot of modern jobs, especially if you're in a creative or tech field. Everything is connected, right? Your work is this long chain of dependencies and is totally at the mercy of last-minute requests or unexpected feedback. Any one of those little things can throw your whole well-planned day right into chaos. So the big question is, how do we start to fight back against all this chaos? Well, it turns out we can take a page from a place that has absolutely mastered dealing with high-stakes, unpredictable situations, the emergency room. They have a secret weapon, and it's a system that we can all learn from. Think about it. In an ER, they don't just treat patients in the order they walk through the door. That would be a disaster. Instead, they use a system called triage to figure out who needs help most urgently. And we can apply that exact same principle to our work to make sure our energy is going where it actually matters most. The idea is to sort every single task that comes your way into one of these three buckets. Red tasks, these are the absolute emergencies, the server is down kind of problems. Orange tasks are important, for sure, but they can wait until the fires are out. And green tasks, those are the nice-to-haves that you can tackle when everything else is calm and under control. So let's make this real. A server outage that takes down your whole app, that's a code red. You drop everything. A little performance lag on a feature that's not mission critical, that's orange. You'll get to it right after the red stuff. Need to update some internal documents? Classic green task. Perfect for a slow afternoon. Now, just as important as knowing what to do is knowing what not to do. And that brings us to a fourth category, black, or what I like to call zombie projects. You know the ones. They're the tasks that are basically dead and going nowhere, but they're still shambling around, eating up your time and energy. Learning to spot these and just let them go is absolutely critical.
Okay, so now we've got our tasks sorted out, but how do we actually act on them, especially when things are changing by the minute? For that, we're going to go from the ER to the cockpit of a fighter jet.
This right here is the OODA Loop. It was developed by an Air Force colonel named John Boyd, and it's a framework for making smarter decisions faster than your opponent, or in our case, faster than our chaotic workload can keep up. The whole goal is to cycle through this loop over and over again, quickly and effectively. So here's how it breaks down. First, you observe what's actually happening. You gather the data. Then, you orient yourself. You process that information based on your own experience and context. Next, you decide on the best way forward. And finally, you act. But the most important part is that it's a loop. The result of your action immediately becomes the next thing you observe, and you start all over again. Now, the OODA Loop is incredibly powerful, but it's not a silver bullet, right? You have to understand the trade-offs. On one hand, it makes you faster and more aware of what's going on. But on the other hand, that need for speed can sometimes lead to cognitive overload or making a decision too quickly. It's a tool that really takes some practice to get good at. So, triage helps us figure out what to work on, and OODA helps us figure out how to work on it. But how do we pull this all together into a system that we can actually use week after week? What we need is basically an operating system for our own productivity. And that's where something called personal Scrum comes into play. This framework basically takes all those powerful principles that high-performing software teams use and adapts them for you, just one person. It creates the structure where tools like Triage and the OODA Loop can really start to work their magic. This is what that weekly rhythm looks like. It's often called a sprint. You plan your week on Monday. On Wednesday, you check in and refine your to-do list.
And on Friday, you look back at what you accomplished. But, and this is so important, the weekend is for rest. This is not about working 24/7. It's about building a pace you can actually sustain.
Now, the cool part about personal Scrum is that you get to wear 3 different hats. As the product owner, you're the boss. You decide what's important. As the Scrum Master, you're the coach, always looking for ways to work smarter. And as the developer, you're the one who actually gets the work done. Shifting between these roles helps make sure you're not just busy, but you're busy with the right things. All right, let's bring this all home because this is the final and honestly the most important piece of the puzzle. All these tools and frameworks, they're not really about managing tasks. They are all in service of one major goal, a fundamental shift in your entire mindset.
This is the transition we're shooting for. The crazy busy mindset is always reactive, it's overwhelmed, and it sees any new work as just another annoying interruption. But the ready mindset, that's prepared, it's calm, and it sees new work as an opportunity. It's the difference between always feeling like you're behind and feeling totally prepared for what's next. So how do you actually get there? Well, it's not about working more hours. It's about working smarter. You invest a little time up front to really analyze your work, create those clear triage rules we talked about, and even standardize how you handle common tasks. That preparation is what builds the ready state. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to this one simple but really powerful question. Being ready just means you can look at that question and confidently say yes. It means you've built a system that lets you operate from a place of control, not from a place of chaos.
And so we'll just leave you with this final thought. Think about it. If you could make that shift, if you were no longer just busy, but truly ready for anything, what could you accomplish? It's not just about managing chaos. It's about unlocking a whole new level of your own potential.